I was just thinking about the Yaks and what would happen if the Yaks met the Griffons. And what if Dilda or some other Griffin made it very clear that they're not going to tolerate the Yaks smashing up the place. Let's say that instead of being like, ooh, Griffinstone's already been smashed, let's say that the Griffins worked hard to rebuild Griffinstone and were proud in their rebuilding of it. And now they definitely don't want Yaks smashing the place up again. And Griffins having a little bit more edge to them than ponies could make their message to the Yaks clear that they don't want things smashed. Now, as I ran that idea through my head, I thought of a couple of things really, but one of those things was the idea that why would ponies want to be friends with Yaks when Yaks are always smashing everything? And it made me think of another similar friendship between someone who is always smashing and abusing everything and someone who wants to remain friends with that person. And that is the world of Dan versus. Now, though the two things, Dan and the Yaks, are very similar, they're also very different. And I can imagine perfectly well in the realm of fan fiction, Dan and the Yaks getting along very well. After all, Dan has a long list of things that he considers not perfect and that he would want smashed. And he could probably convince the Yaks of many reasons not to smash his things. As well as I imagine Elise could probably convince the Yaks not to smash her stuff either. But what is the difference between the Yaks smashing Equestria and Dan smashing the rest of the world? Well, the big difference is that the ponies were honestly trying hard to do something to please the Yaks by replicating Yak culture to the best of their ability due to limited knowledge. Whether or not that was the right idea and whether or not the Yaks were justified in smashing, it does feel like a group of people smashing something that was the hard work of others with good intentions. In Dan versus, when Dan smashes things and causes all kinds of public property damage and mayhem and destruction and revenge and the sort, it's usually because of the fact that whoever Dan is taking out his anger on is somebody who did something wrong to Dan to begin with. And it's usually something that we, as a people in general, agree with Dan on, that it's something that we're annoyed by too and probably deserves smashing. Dan has issues with the craziest stuff, but occasionally it's the same stuff that makes us, the audience, angry as well, and in a way he's kind of living out our fantasies. And in many of the episodes, whatever it was that Dan was going after turns out to be legitimately evil or in some way or another deserving whatever punishment Dan brings to that thing that needs punishing. And while Dan may be a jerk, and those that he's a jerk to may also be jerks, Dan does have his certain limitations and morals and little personality quirks that makes him more than just Yaks smash. he's definitely a deeper and more complex character than these Yaks are on first impressions. Of course, we're looking at one episode of Yaks versus several seasons of Dan episodes. The thing that I find interesting is, for all of the negative stuff that Dan is, for all of the things that he does, whether it's good or bad or in between, there is one person who remains his friend. No matter how much Dan abuses him, no matter how much Dan abuses others, no matter how much Dan's anger leads him to smashing things, Chris always stands by Dan and offers him friendship and tolerance and understanding. No matter how futilely he tries to reel in Dan's anger and redirect it in a positive direction, Chris always remains friends with Dan. And there's actually an episode in the series that explains how the two met and why they're friends, and what events led Dan into becoming the man that he becomes throughout the course of the series. And even to some extent, even Elise puts up with Dan to some point, even though she doesn't invite him over and doesn't offer her friendship to him. She also doesn't go out of her way to stop him from coming over. She knows these adventures are going to happen, and she's just there for the ride. Perhaps I'm not the best person to talk about this subject, and maybe someday I'll go through the effort of making a crossover and re-examining these positions, but I was just thinking of how these two things are similar, yet at the same time oh so different. This has been my unorganized observations on two things being similar, and overall the topic needs a lot more work. But tell me what you think in the comments section below, and I'll iron out the details perhaps in a future video. Thank you for watching, and good night.